everyone. Welcome to Menopause Mindset Monday. I am Sally Garozzo and a very warm welcome to you. I'm Sally Garozzo, and as you can see, I'm a rapid transformational therapist and I'm a menopause mindset coach. So hello, I hope you are well. I have had a little week off. Last Monday was my birthday. I was 45, so I had a wonderful birthday. And to be honest with you, I probably would have had the same birthday even if we weren't in a lockdown situation. So it was wonderful. We went to a beautiful open garden and it was just so nice to be out in fresh air a lot. The power of nature is unbelievable. So today's topic is called How to Have a Happier Menopause. And this is a very important topic because perimenopause can feel absolutely awful. Let me know if you agree. We can feel alone, we can feel crazy, we can feel tired, we can feel achy, we can hurt all over, we can be in a lot of pain. We can be depressed, we can be anxious, we can actually be in a lot of despair, and some women even feel suicidal. So some of the symptoms really are no joke, and that is why it's important to focus on having a happier menopause and look at some of the things that we can do. So the reason I am very passionate about this subject is because culturally, I believe that we have been literally hypnotized into believing that menopause is the enemy, that fluctuating hormones and, hormones in general are the enemy. There's something to be feared and there's something to blame. And they make us feel bad when they drop or when they elevate or when they don't do the proper dance that they're supposed to do. We blame them for every mood swing that we have. And it becomes really, really, really easy to blame our hormones. And when we do this, we're really kind of almost outsourcing our power because we believe that we are powerless against these hormonal changes, that we're at the mercy of them. And that's just the way that it is. And we have absolutely no control over it. So I think that is a bit of a fallacy, actually. I'm just going to put my camera down a little bit. There we go. I don't feel that this is correct. I think this is a big fat lie and one that I really don't want you to believe anymore for your own mental and physical health and for the health and sanity of your family as well, and your daughters and your granddaughters and the people around you. And I think there is a reason that we have just put up and shut up for many years. Women have suffered in silence. I don't know if your mum spoke about it openly or your grandmother or your aunts. But menopause has been shrouded in taboo. It's been shrouded in shame. It's been shrouded in secrecy. And a lot of women going through the menopause now are that Gen X, that Generation X, and we are a bit more feisty. We are a bit more outspoken. We have the internet now, so we can do our own problem solving. We can go down that sort of research rabbit hole and we can find out more. Our mothers and our grandmothers didn't have that. So times are changing because of this growing knowledge base and because of the discontentment that many women feel who are looking for answers. We're not just going to put up and shut up anymore. Right, rant over. So what is a happier menopause? So a happier menopause basically comes from the action that you take because of the knowledge that you have, that you have much more control over your symptoms than you might have previously thought or even been led to believe. So I'll say that again. Happier menopause comes from the action that you take because of the knowledge that you have much more control over your symptoms than you originally thought you might have or even been led to believe. So a happier menopause is about not suffering unnecessarily. So in order to understand what a happier menopause is, let's take a little look at what makes a menopause unhappy or what makes a menopause more symptomatic. Now, I have 6 things that I want to cover here. So let's start with number 1. Number 1 is lack of knowledge, lack of understanding, not knowing what your menopausal symptoms are and thinking that all of these different symptoms are separate. And of course, we must remember that some things are separate, and sometimes it is good to get tested on what is going on in the body, but your symptoms are an indicator of whether or not you're going through perimenopause rather than a blood test. So if your symptoms are playing havoc with you, it's not always necessary that you need a blood test to determine whether or not you need HRT. So this lack of understanding, this not knowing, this ignorance, for want of a better word, it's a horrible word that, but this lack of understanding actually causes quite a lot of stress in the body because we're in the dark, it's unknown, we're not getting answers from our GP through no fault of their own, they're just not trained deeply enough in the menopause. So we feel alone, and this creates more stress and more anxiety in the body. So this lack of understanding leads to more stress, and that's why it has a detrimental effect on your menopausal symptoms, because stress makes menopause worse. So it's really important to get educated and to stay educated about your physical health and your mental health. I believe in really being at the head of your healthcare team. So see it as like a corporation, and you are at the head of your healthcare team, making the investments that you need to make in yourself so that you can become more productive, you can have more energy, you can improve your relationship, you can just be happier, because you deserve to be happier. I think a lot of women carry this wound through their life, that's just the way that it is, that we reach a certain point in our life and, it's kind of downhill, but it doesn't have to be like that. Not in this day and age. Women are living so much longer. We deserve to feel happy. We deserve to have our health in top notch for the third age of our lives. So making the right investments in yourself. I know that some of the alternative therapies or the complementary therapies are, they're not free. You do have to pay, you do have to make the investment. And I hear a lot from many women, I just can't afford it. And while in some cases that might be true, in other cases it might just be that you're choosing to spend the money differently, and maybe you could reprioritize your spending. I know I've had to do that quite a lot, and really kind of, instead of going out more, I know we can't do that at the moment, but I've had to shift some of my finances from what I would normally spend over here to my health and well-being, especially as I'm getting older. I am having to invest more in my health and well-being, but that is giving me a payoff. It's giving me more energy so that I can put into my work and generate more income. So, okay, number 2 is, what are we talking about? Let's just get back on point. What makes menopause worse? So number 2 is, let me just put my WhatsApp on silent. Number 2 is blood sugar fluctuations. So blood sugar fluctuations can really exacerbate menopause symptoms like hot flushes, like anxiety, like mood swings, like insomnia, and brain fog. So our cells become much more sensitive to insulin as we get older, as we go through the menopause. So maintaining a really stable blood sugar balance is absolutely going to help with menopausal symptoms. So this is really about looking at eliminating those white refined carbohydrates and things like cake, biscuits, sugar, alcohol as well, and caffeine. And replacing those things with things like, dense dark chocolate, green leafy vegetables, really good for the liver. And if you are going to have pasta, opting for whole grain pasta or chickpea pasta. If you're going to have rice, opt for brown rice and things like that. Just really stabilize your blood sugar all through the day, so you're not having those peaks and troughs, which can really cause quite a lot of stress in the body. Which brings me to my next point. The third thing that makes menopause more unhappy or more symptomatic will be stress, that thing that we experience a lot of. So deadlines, demands, overwhelm. It makes menopause so much worse. It makes the symptoms, it aggravates the symptoms. So your cortisol and your adrenaline that spikes when we're stressed, it inhibits those lovely sex hormones, and those rest and digest inhibits the oxytocin, and it puts our nervous system into a state of high alert. It activates the sympathetic nervous system, which it's actually very disconnecting as well. It sort of separates us from our loved ones. It separates us from the collective. It makes us very sort of individualistic. So that nervous system, when it's on high alert, will give you those palpitations, that racing heart rate, that arrhythmia, that racing brain, those thoughts that you can't switch off. Is going to inhibit your sleep. It may contribute to night sweats and that acid reflux that comes up at night time. So high cortisol levels are responsible for a plethora of illnesses, ailments, dysfunctions, and disease, stretching all the way through to your cancers, your immune function, autoimmune disease, migraines, lack of libido. Weight gain is a big one. The more stress we have in our lives, the more we are going to hold onto that weight at menopause as well. You know, the list is endless. So one of the things that we can do to make our stress levels, I don't want to say eliminate, because we're not eliminating stress, but we can reduce our stress levels. There's so much that we can do. We can do breathing exercises. We can exercise. We can make sure we're eating well. We have a first-class diet. But also, I love taking 20 minutes out of my day to do a hypnosis recording. So I'm a hypnotherapist, and I've created a relaxation recording, which is wonderful. It's like a kind of yoga nidra where you go through all of the different muscles and you turn each one off. I think it's around 20 minutes. It's free. So if you want to grab yourself a copy, it's bit.ly/relaxation with Sally. That's bit.ly/relaxation with Sally. And I'll put the link somewhere as well. So number 4, what makes menopause symptoms worse? Well, toxic environments are going to exacerbate your menopause symptoms. So I recently heard from a very good source that your inside environment is actually more toxic than your outside environment. So this is really about making sure that your inside environment is as toxic free as possible. So we're looking at things like reducing EMFs. So you can put some of those, I don't really know what I think they're full of copper. Those EMF, what do you call them? I've got one that plugs in to my electrical system that is supposed to dispel those EMFs. You can put those copper, I'm going to have to find it and I'll show you another time maybe, but you put them on your Wi-Fi or close to your Wi-Fi, or black or shungite is another really, really good one. It's a mineral that comes from Russia, and if you Google it, you'll see that it absorbs EMFs. So you have to cleanse it, you have to clean it a lot, but it's really, really good for taking EMFs out of your environment. Also, you want to look at removing the parabens and the sulfates out of your cleaning products, your shampoos, your conditioners, your creams, your shower gel, your deodorant. You really want to be switching to a non-aluminium deodorant, an organic deodorant with maybe coconut oil or some aromatherapy oils. That's going to be much better for you. And if you are healthier on the inside, if your liver is functioning really well, then you're not going to be smelling as much. So, I don't actually use any deodorant at the moment, and I don't really smell that bad, which is great. And I do a lot of exercise. So the reason we need to remove these parabens and sulfates is because they act like xenoestrogens. And xenoestrogens kind of act like endocrine disruptors. They interfere with the normal functioning of our hormones. They latch onto the receptor sites of the cells, acting like real estrogens. So if we can end up with sort of too much estrogen in the body, and the liver and the gut are fighting to clear this estrogen out of the body. So we can end up with estrogen dominance and estrogen dominance type symptoms like heavy bleeding, like weight gain, like fibroids, like, very sensitive breasts. So when it comes to your environment, organic is best. Organic food, because these substances, these hormone disruptors, will be present in non-organic meats, non-organic vegetables, and things like that. So we want to eat as clean as possible to really help reduce our menopause symptoms. So number 5 is one of the things that can make our menopause symptoms worse can be a negative attitude towards our health. So our general attitude towards our health really does play a big role in whether or not our menopause is going to be happy or happier or more challenging. So, for example, a very negative, dark, hopeless attitude will certainly have a detrimental effect on your menopause transition, because it just weighs you down. It's dark, it's heavy, you're not going to be looking for solutions. It may be that, I mean, as a hypnotherapist, I know that the thoughts that we think really do translate into chemicals and hormones and neurotransmitters. So thoughts create feelings. Now, slight caveat to that, I know that menopause itself and the fluctuating hormones can really cause women a lot of despair and a lot of darkness and a lot of hopelessness and a feeling of negativity. I know that was me. I'm one of the most positive people on the planet, and during perimenopause I just felt, at the end of my tether, because I wasn't sleeping. How can you be positive if you're not sleeping, if you're anxious, if your heart's going 10 to the dozen, if your relationship's breaking down, if you feel lonely and, you're not making any money or whatever? It's hard to feel positive. But there's a difference between that and feeding the negativity. So it's always okay to feel what you feel, but it's going to cause you more problems if you are feeding that negativity. So it's really important to take action on what you know, even if it's hard, even if it's difficult, even if every fibre of your being doesn't want to do it. Try to do it if you know it is for your highest good. Try to exercise if you know it's for your highest good. Try to think positive. Try to shift your thinking. Try to imagine best case scenario rather than worst case scenario. Try to reach out to a friend. Often we don't want to do these things. We're not motivated to do these things because we are stuck in a dark place. But if we give ourselves a gentle nudge in the right direction, we can very often feel much better after we have taken action on those things. So this is about adopting a positive attitude, even if we are feeling a bit low, knowing that we do have power. It's not just our hormones. There's plenty that we can do right now, this moment, to help ourselves feel better or to set the wheels in motion so that we can start to have a better menopause. We can start to heal from the inside out by the choices, by the thoughts, by the decisions that we make. So number 6, and this is the one I am kind of really interested to talk to you about. I'm just going to have a quick slurp. This is my cinnamon yogi tea, and cinnamon is very good for balancing blood sugar. All right, so number 6 then. The final big one that I wanted to talk to you about is subconscious emotional baggage from the past and subconscious trauma that we carry around with us like a box of pain. So I said before that stress makes menopause worse. Well, it's not just stress and demands in the moment, in the now, that makes menopause worse. It's unresolved stress from the past. It's unresolved grief, unresolved sadness, unresolved pain, trauma. And until we rewire and recode and attach a new meaning to that trauma, it kind of lives in our cells and it lives in our nervous system. And it behaves, it does things automatically. It's like it just kicks off without any choice, without any sort of decision making from us. It just happens to us because it's lodged in the nervous system. Of course, when we experience panic or dread or fear, we have a choice how to respond. But our immediate reaction to something, to a stimulus or a trigger, is usually, that's not something that we can control. But once we have become conscious of our reaction, then we can decide how we are going to respond to that. So it's all about responsibility. So the question I ask some of my menopause mindset coaching clients is, what if it wasn't just about the hormones? What if there was something else going on? So as our estrogen rises, as it does in our follicular phase, the beginning part of our cycle, it kind of keeps all of our past pain neatly in a box over here with a lid on. So our box of pain is over here. There's a nice, neat lid on top. We can control it. It's not controlling us. But when the estrogen starts to decline, as it does in menopause, perimenopause, menopause, and also in the luteal phase, so the after ovulation, that lid on our box of pain flies off and our pain starts to bubble up like a pan boiling over with water. It starts to come up to the surface, and then we start to really feel what has kind of already been there existing in a box with a lid on over here for years and years. So when we really, really feel it, it becomes very difficult to just push down anymore. And so what happens is we end up blaming it on our hormones. This is kind of what PMS is, and PMDD as well sort of leans into this. So, you know, how your PMS is tends to dictate how your perimenopause and your menopause is going to be as well. So we blame it on the hormones. And of course, the hormones do play a part. But what if that box of pain has actually been there since your teenage years or your young adulthood or your childhood even? And what if we could heal that box of pain so that when the hormones did decline, there was nothing in that box to bubble up to the surface? So then it wouldn't matter what was going on with your hormones, because that box of pain from childhood is effectively empty or just a really kind of low residue in the bottom. So when we address severe menopause symptoms with just HRT or even just lifestyle, and it's not getting any better, we could be missing something very important indeed. We could be missing this idea of healing emotional inflammation. So many of us accept that healing physical inflammation makes us feel better. We need to do it. We need to make sure we are, not inflammatory in the body, which plays havoc with our systems. But many of us are still quite not there yet with understanding the impact of soothing our emotional inflammation. And emotional inflammation is your anger, it's your angst, it's your hypervigilance, it's your overreactivity at the slightest trigger. It's that feeling of dread, it's that feeling of despair, it's whatever is keeping you up at night time. It's those heightened feelings that are usually driven by something subconscious because they are automatic. We don't want to react like that, but we are, because it's coming from the subconscious. The subconscious is the inner child, the wounded part of you. So that message, that belief, that program might be a fear, it might be a terror, it might be a belief that says I'm not safe, I'm not loved, I'm alone, I'm not good, I'm different, nobody will want me, nobody understands me, nobody can meet my needs, I can't meet my needs. So all of us have this language going on in our subconscious mind that drives our reactions. And it stems from beliefs that we created in childhood based on our experiences, based on the wounds that we experienced and the meaning that we attached to those experiences. And that's how RTT helps with menopause or adverse menopause experiences or severe menopausal symptoms or just normal menopausal symptoms, because it gets to the root of that box of pain. It opens the box of pain. We take a look, we scoop it out, and we really look at it. We give it a voice so that it can be heard finally, rather than just be shut away, because what you resist will always persist. If you don't deal with it, it's going to come out in headaches, in inflammation, in palpitations, in autoimmune. There's many different ways that this stored emotional pain creeps out. And usually at midlife, when menopause kicks in, perimenopause kicks in, it's a beautiful invitation for us to really do the deep inner work that we've put off, work that we think is really scary. It's actually scarier to keep a lid on it. It's less scary to take that lid off with the support of a therapist and to really be held in that space of transformation. It's beautiful. I do RTTs a lot, and I have the absolute privilege of working with people who are going through these incredible transformations. And it works by, like I say, getting to the root, pulling it out like a weed so that it doesn't grow back. And it's based on the science of neurogenesis and neuroplasticity. We use a lot of powerful language to command the cells, to recode the cells. We use a lot of visualization. It's very powerful. And of course, the mind learns through repetition. So we spend a lot of time putting these statements on repeat so that they soak in to your skin like lotion, and you can now be free of your wounds, and you can start to grow in self-love and self-care, no longer betraying yourself, no longer putting yourself at the bottom of the pile, which I see so many women doing. It's the woman's wound, but no more. So this is very powerful work indeed. This hormonal shift caused by menopause, it really acts like a truth serum, or it acts like a magnifying glass, and it puts you in touch with this unresolved emotional pain that is just dying to be heard, dying to have a voice, dying to be recognized and seen from you once and for all. The hormone shifts reveal your deepest held negative beliefs, and it brings them to the surface like a pussy old wound, sorry. And every trigger that you experience in your life, like the kids not cleaning up after themselves, or a partner ignoring you, or a colleague saying something that triggers you, or someone tailgating you, these triggers act like a grain of sand in that wound, irritating that wound. And so it acts like an irritant to something that needs to be soothed and healed. Don't remove the trigger, because there'll always be triggers. Remove that box of pain that you've been carrying around with you, that baggage that you've been carrying around with you for so many years. So yeah, if you clear your wounds, it doesn't matter how many times the potential trigger arises in your world, it just won't have an impact on you. It won't have an effect on you, or the effect will be less and less and less over time. So that, my friends, is why it's so important not to ignore the deep inner emotional work. I know that many women opt for the HRT, then they opt for the diet, the exercise, all the kind of sticking plaster. Actually, it's not sticking plaster, but the stress management type stuff. And a lot of women do ignore the deep emotional work. But if we don't do it, that box of pain stays with us. And we will continue to get triggered and triggered and triggered until eventually it gets too much and we decide that, I am the common denominator here. I am the one that is in all of these scenarios. So there must be something within me here that's going on. Maybe I am attracting this. Maybe I am manifesting this. So rapid transformational therapy, it's got rapid in the title, but I don't want you to be disillusioned by that. Even though it's rapid, it's not a quick fix. So I said this in one of my posts, if you're looking for a quick fix, try a slow solution. So a quick fix is a band-aid approach, and actually ultimately makes the journey to full healing much longer and much slower. So a slow solution really is, unlocking that box, unlocking Pandora's box, feeling into those wounds from the past and giving them a voice, shining a light on these subconscious pains and these patterns that you might have been repeating for a very long time. Then it's about letting go of your attachment to that story and flipping the script. It's about leaning into the change and attaching a meaning of excitement and growth to doing what is different in your life, so that you can start to really recreate a whole new identity for yourself, if that's what you choose, or just a different internal landscape. So I work with women in two different ways, with the therapy and the coaching. So the therapy that I do, it's a 2-hour process that's done under hypnosis. It works with the subconscious. It works with the wounded inner child, those kind of automatic beliefs, that all those automatic reactions. So it helps to soothe the reactivity in the body. And then the second way that I work with women is through menopause mindset coaching. So that is utilizing the power, the incredible power of the conscious mind, the will, the decision making, and the choice. So with menopause mindset coaching, you get hormone testing, you get clarity, you get emotional support, you get help with goal setting, you get guidance, motivation, reframes. We work on strategies together. I can help educate you as well to really help you feel nourished, supported, more importantly, give you a sense of sanity during this transition. So if you are interested in any of my services, or you just want to be a little bit more nosy, then head on over to sallygarozzo.com. I've got so many resources. I've got podcasts, I've got blogs, I've got videos if you want to educate yourself even more. Also, I'd like to invite you, if you're on Instagram, to follow me on Instagram, because I do lots of Insta stories. I'm a big fan of Insta stories, and it's a bit like my little kind of reality TV show there. Again, full of tips, full of education, just full of inspiring little nuggets of wisdom and things like that. So, thank you so much for being here with me today and sharing this part of your day with me. Honestly, it means so much, and I'm always here for you, ready and willing to support you in any way that I can. Just reach out and ask. Honestly, that is the hardest part. So, lots of love to you all, and I will see you same place, same time next Monday. Lots of love. Bye.